Look over here.
Oh, wow. More people on Look Over Here than the recap? What?
Ooh.
Timing conflicts.
On a Dragula recap? What?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
We fell so hard.
I know.
We had 5, and then it just collapsed.
Remember at the start of the season when we had 6? Good times.
Good times.
Good times. Because schedules are horrible. Anyway, hello, uglies. And welcome to The Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality. And you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. And welcome to...
Look over here.
Our exclusive companion series where we are diving into the looks from episode 7 of Dragula, season 5. I'm Logan Murphy, say something gay. And of the beverages I was drinking in the recap, which speaking of, go check out the recap, I only have coffee and water left. So that's where we're at.
There were more?
I had and I still have the can, a tiny Coke Zero.
Oh.
Because in classic ADHD fashion, as I talked about, I had one drink to hydrate, one to caffeinate, and one just for fun.
Do you have a cup?
Maybe I do. I do have a mug that happens to have our logo on it that you could also purchase, like all of us, at longitude.creations.etsy.com. That link is in the description below, and we do ship domestically within the United States and internationally, so there are no excuses. Unless there are some excuses, then there are some excuses because there are some excuses.
Well, I'm David Healy, and I don't have a cute intro, but I do have a cute shirt. I was just quickly doing research to make sure I got this fact correct, but I'm wearing my Eva Destruction shirt, which is perfect because Eva won the first Dungeons and Drag Queens challenge in season 3. And I love Eva. And I will just go ahead and tell you all, was I crazy about Eva in season 3? No, I actually was not. And everybody else was like, oh, Eva's so good. And I'm like, is she though? But then Titans completely changed my mind on Eva. And now I'm a big Eva fan. But I'm just drinking some water. I'm almost done though.
And my name is Jack. I am your lovely game designer. Yeah, no, because that's actually what's relevant for this episode instead of live experience.
Yes.
And I have myself been resurrected from the dead of having too many goddamn things going on. So I am now able to do this. And I have the small bits of water that's left in this, but there is essentially nothing left.
I'm very glad that there are 3 of us here this week, seeing as how David did the whole thing last week by himself. But yes, if you have not checked out the recap where David and I talked about this episode and attempted to talk cognitively and coherently about Dungeons and Dragons, to which we did not do, make sure to check out the recap. But we're going to talk about the floor show looks. Before we do, though, make sure to subscribe if you've not already, because we're here almost all the time giving you almost all things drag, EULA. And make sure to check out the description below where you can find all of our audio podcast links, our other YouTube channels, and our Patreon for exclusive content and early access, including early access to most of the Look Over Here episodes for the franchises that we are currently covering. So, we're going to go over here. This is going to go on screen. Dungeons and Drag Queens, or drag artists, or it's mostly artists on this season and not queens. Whatever.
Drag monsters.
Monsters. First up, Gray Matter. And Gray was who again, David?
Goblin.
Goblin Warrior.
Warrior?
Yes, Warrior. So, I love this look so much. This is literally just, it's a little guy. A little guy.
Just a little guy.
He may have some like spikes and shit that he might try and harm you, but he, at the end of the day, he is just a little guy. I mean, the gray signature headpiece is still there. But this is probably the most hidden one of all. I really do like I'm not sure if they're rhinestoned or just a very reflective red on the head skull, but I really like that. And yeah, I mean, this is basically exactly what you think of when it comes to a generic goblin warrior that you could pick up anywhere. I really like the shield being all spiky, and I like the addition of the chains on the bottom. Nothing wrong with this look whatsoever in my mind.
Yeah, this is my favorite look of the week. I know I say it pretty much every week, but this just feels so cinematic. This feels like it could be in a movie. In fact, when I was watching the episode, I'm like, is this hyperbole or is this as good as some of the creatures in the Lord of the Rings movies? Because it really like gave me the vibe that it is, and I'm just so blown away by it. And I think when you do all of these prosthetics, like this is bulky prosthetics for sure, it would be easy for you to lose the human behind it and for maybe their speaking to be muffled or not get all of the facial movements. I didn't have any of those problems with Gray. It felt like that was part of their body. And I was just so impressed with that. And I really like this skull helmet. I thought that was really cool. And the addition of having like all of the flesh pieces on the weapon, I thought that was really cool too. So yeah, I'm just blown away by Gray once again.
Another phenomenal week for Gray and another phenomenal look from Gray. I definitely agree. It's not my favorite look of the night. It's my second. I will say that much. The detail here is just so good. For me, and it actually relates back to what you said, Jack, the number one thing that I wish was elevated in this look is I wish there was something other than his signature skull piece. I wish there was something else that felt more unique, because this does feel a tad generic, the smallest of tads of generic. And that is not going to be reflected in my score because the craftsmanship and everything about this look is so good. I just wish there was a bit more gray brought into this look. But nevertheless, it's an incredible look. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. So, scores.
95.
I also gave it 95.
I, too, gave Gray a 95.
Woo!
Next up, the other half of this duo for the challenge, Auntie Heroine, who was a...
Troll Druid.
Thank you, David.
I am so shocked by this because I think this is, in my mind, this is the 100% best look of this challenge. Not only does it smash, was it troll or orc?
It was
Troll Druid.
Okay, it was troll. Yeah, I mean, it very, very clearly reads as troll. It very clearly reads as druid and has really good pieces like the foliage on the shoulders and the mossy texture. But it also reads as Auntie Heroine. And I mean, it's just really, really impressive. So, I mean, I literally can't say anything more than this whole outfit is perfect. It shows that it's Auntie Heroine, and I literally cannot think of a better look for this challenge.
Yeah, this is not my favorite look, but I think I did like it better when I saw her on the floor show here, as opposed to during the actual challenge part where they're doing their choreography, because it was so dimly lit that to me, when I saw her, I was like, oh, she just looks like herself. So I did see Auntie. I saw a little bit too much of Auntie, and I wanted to see her branch out a little bit more. But then when I could see her under the lights, I was like, oh, okay, I can see very distinct colors now, and you are like switching up like the actual color of your skin, the color of your wig. So I appreciated that. I still wish she had branched out a little bit more and done something that was more of a character beyond herself. So I'm kind of the opposite of Jack on how I feel regarding seeing the auntie of it all. What I do like is she is somebody that pays attention to every little tiny detail, and there are so many really cool details in this look. It has this whole earthy vibe, and there's a bunch of little things that support that. They might be a little too little of details, though. I think she could have gone for some more extreme details too, because it's kind of hard to pick up on unless you're really focusing in on certain spots. But I still like it. I think everybody did well this week. This is probably my second least favorite look, though.
And I, as I tend to do on this podcast, agree with both of you. I absolutely agree, Jack. I think this was Auntie for me, and this also isn't my favorite look of the week. I will say that as well. And I'm glad that we all have different favorite looks of this week because, like you said, David, no one did bad except for Asia. We'll talk about it. But I love, like, Auntie's character for me felt like the most relatable to my perception of Dungeons and Dragons characters. That's what I'll say. And I have a limited exposure to Dungeons and Dragons characters. So for me, it felt very like, yes, blue skin, bright magenta hair, like all of the detailing, the earthiness, like it is exactly what I picture when I think troll and druid. But I also agree with you, David. I wanted to see something a little bit different from Auntie. And what I've been missing from Auntie this season is a bit more vast characterization. And I know this is nitpicking, but we're at the point this season where nitpicking is what's going to happen because everyone is so good. For me, I just wish she had gone a different direction. And I like that this is also a more androgynous character. I like that we did get that from Auntie, but I want to see Auntie do something that truly surprises me. And I have gotten a few moments from her this season of that, but I want something that I'm truly like, oh my God, that's Auntie. I want that moment. And I haven't gotten a whole lot of that from her. So again, me being the middle opinion, I agree with both of you. And I do think Auntie looks great. So, scores.
Full cup.
85.
89. Next up is my darling, dear, sweet angel, who I love so fiercely with every fiber of my being, Asia Consent.
And Asia is a
Tiefling Beastmaster.
Okay, Jack, one of those, either her race or her class basically means that she had to be an archer, right?
So here's the thing. Beastmaster as a class for D&D is not even like one of the main classes I would think of. I'd go rogue, I'd go ranger. Like this, I mean, yes, it is one of the classes that you can take. Mm-hmm. But it just the thing that gets to me here, and I did look it up because I wanted to make sure of it. Beastmaster is a subclass of Ranger.
Oh.
Like, every other one of these classes is very specific. Like, this is a main class. Mm-hmm. Beastmaster is sub that. And Rangers are the ones who have bows and arrows, so that makes complete sense, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
I have no idea why she was given specifically Beastmaster. Because if you gave her Ranger, it would have made way more sense. With that said, this is things glued to a corset. Yeah. And, I mean, I don't blame Asia for not knowing what the hell to do with this, because I don't blame her. Tiefling is a very interesting thing, and I do think the tiefling part hit well enough. I could not have told you this was Beastmaster, mostly because that would not have been any of my guesses. And yeah, you would have gotten to Ranger, but like, if you are Beastmaster specifically, have some sort of animal that you are interested in hunting primarily. Have the whole point of being a Beastmaster is that you have some sort of other animal or companion that you're primarily bonded with.
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell is that? Like, you had a lot of time.
The feathers.
The horns.
And the bones.
Yeah, but it's more of like an actual, like, living beast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be like things that you've killed.
Got it.
And I guess Beastmaster being like, hey, so you've killed and tracked a lot of beasts is a way to interpret it, but I mean, if you're specifically given Beastmaster, it's a little odd. So yeah, no, this is absolutely the worst of the week, and if it was probably judged in isolation of everything, Asia probably should have gone home this week.
Well, I disagree because I like this look. But I will go ahead and say this had kind of the opposite effect of Auntie, where when I saw it under these lights, I liked it a little less because it looked so cool out on the set. I thought, especially with this red, the reds and the yellows were just really popping out of the look under the lights, and yeah, I thought she looked great out there. I really like these brows that just turn into horns. I thought that was a really cool element. The gray wig looks really good on her. There's a lot that I like about it. I felt like, especially during her performance, there were things about her face that felt so creature without all of the prosthetics that a few of the other people had. Just the way she was able to transform, it almost gave me like a human that was part dragon. That's the effect that I got from her. So I was very impressed with things she was doing with her face during, it's not the floor show, but like the performance aspect of it. So
performance floor show.
Yeah. But I still like the look. Like I'm way higher on it than both of you because this was in my top 3.
Okay. There's a lot that I like about this. Look. And a lot of that has to do with, I agree, the horns that are eyebrows that become horns are really great. This wig is great on her, and her characterization, I would have never expected a character like this from Asia. So I was really happy to see something different and to get like a complete transformation from her. And the blacklight effects that she was able to get in the performance battle floor show, as I'm now calling it, were really good. She had the best imagery with the settings that they were in, that they were fighting in. Like, she popped, obviously, because there were a lot of blacklight and reflective kind of materials used. So it was very aided by that. Unfortunately for me, I am going to fall a little bit more on the side of Jack. I do think this was the least successful look of the week. Not by a large margin, though, I will say. The bodysuit itself that she has is well done and well painted. The corset leaves a lot to be desired. The makeup leaves a lot to be desired, for me at least. The accessories leave a bit to be desired. The performance leaves a lot to be desired. But as a look on its own, judging it simply as the look, I'm not as mad about it. So, scores.
75.
88.
78. Next up, her combat partner, Yuri, no guy.
Yuri was a troll warlock.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, this pretty well tracks. Warlocks very much do have this kind of mix between standard warrior that you would think of and a wizard, someone who's purely casting spells. It's kind of that middle ground in a weird way, and I do think this works really nicely. I do love the purple. Again, the purple is the fabric choice, especially as green is the skin color. It just works really well to give a nice contrast. I like the staff. I'm still not 100% sure what the glowing part is. I'm not mad at it. I'm just a little confused. But I do like the prosthetic work. This is a pretty different look than we're used to seeing from Yuri, and I think it went off pretty well. I do really love the shoulder pieces glowing, because that just looks amazing.
Yeah, I thought Yuri was the most unrecognizable that she's been all season, and I really appreciated that switch up. Yeah, I thought this was a really strong look, and the glowing elements that she had in the costume, that was some of my favorite elements from this look. So when she got critiqued for that, I was like, really? Come on. I get how having parts that glow could make everything else a little bit dim in the dark elements that they had outside, but I think she had good ways of countering that. Specifically, she utilized black makeup really well on her face. Like she has pretty thick black makeup around her eyes, around her lip, and even outlining her nose in a specific way to add a lot of contrast, which added depth and made things pop in the dark. So I wasn't mad at it at all. I thought this was a very successful look for Yuri, one of Yuri's best looks of the season.
I do agree with you, David. I was a little, overall, I was a little underwhelmed. I do agree. This is the most unrecognizable she's been. And I was really, really happy to see her push her own, concept and narrative. And I think the transformation is great. My issue with what Yuri presented is that it feels the most, not the most actually, some of the most generic of everyone on this floor show. Like I wish the concept had been pushed a little bit stronger, but the accessories here are really what sells this, because the garment itself is fine. It is fine. It is armor pieces and a couple of pieces of fabric for a cape and, to cover her genitalia. But that's about it. The accessories though are really great. I was mad too, Jack, that she got critiqued for the shoulders, because I thought it was really good. The special effects and the glowing and all of that really added to the character. That unfortunately the makeup work and the dark color palette here really didn't aid her in the performance part of the challenge. As a look, I'm not mad at it. But overall, it left a lot to be desired from the concept and from the execution, given that I wish she had used some blacklight elements as well. Like just some blacklighting details, I think really would have elevated the look. Even if it's like white detailing where she's got some white or like very, very light green highlighting going on in the face, like even some of that and in the body maybe would have added to it for me. But it's not bad by any means of the imagination. So, scores.
81.
87.
80. Next up, Jaharia, who was a...
Oh, sorry. Jaharia was a goblin wizard.
Think, go.
Oh. Oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, I really like Jaharia, but this is questionable.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be reading Elphaba before a D&D character.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the description of a disco wizard is very accurate. There's way too many sequins on this. It's way too glowy. I just... Ooh.
Yoda Jackson.
I mean, the silhouette is there. The silhouette
Yoda
is there.
Jackson was disrespectful.
I mean, it doesn't. It reads as wizard, but it only does so in shape. I mean, the colors are there, but why is it so shiny? The face makeup is fine, and the staff is very, very muted. I would have wanted to see it bigger in this case, and this is just so... I don't want to go Halloween costumey, but it very much is where it's like, it's just not good.
I still kind of like it, but this is another one that looked better in the dark. That sounds really shady. Yep. It looks better in the dark. But you know what I mean.
It did.
Yeah. I like the idea of going for a glamour element with this look. The problem is once I saw it under the lights, I was like, oh, this material actually looks pretty cheap. It almost looks like a design challenge look. But I do like that she kept elements of herself while transforming a bit. I wish she had pushed it a little bit further. Her and Auntie were the two that really kind of stuck with their aesthetic a bit stronger than everybody else. And I like this braided wig. I thought that was really pretty. And her contacts were really good in the dark. Like her eyes were popping out at you in the dark. But I don't hate it. I think it's actually pretty good. It could be better.
That's kind of where I'm landing, is it's not that bad, but it could be better. Like, the fabric choice alone, no. The fabric choice alone, no thank you, ma'am. I don't need sequins when I'm asking for Dungeons and Drag Queens. I do actually like the concept of the look for her character, though. I think this kind of like hood with the pants, I think if it had been any other fabrics, honestly, I think it would have looked more true to form. She definitely looked really great in the challenge, and I also really appreciate the look in the performance itself because she was able to move, she was able to do all of the choreography that her and Pi choreographed, and it was really, really good in that regard. And I like the transformation. It left a lot to be desired, and I'm sad. So, scores.
70.
82.
77. And last up, Pi as someone.
Oh, Pi was clearly an orc warrior.
Obviously. And yes, they were.
Yeah. No, this was extremely clear. I could honestly see this coming out of almost any video game as an orc warrior. I really, really like the face mold here. It is pretty different from what we've seen on Pi. And I mean, yeah, prosthetics are prosthetics, but I do really, really love how it looks. The headpiece as well. It looks very scrapped together, and honestly, that's what orcs are normally known as very scrappy, getting things together from whatever they can. I love just it's a kind of not monotone, but almost like two-toned color palette where it's
Muted.
the green muted. Thank you.
Yeah. No.
And I think it works out just brilliantly here. And I mean, the weapon as well, a simple axe, can't do any better than that. Really well designed. Just a great look all around. Although, I mean, for Pi, the only thing I will say is I did expect, I guess, a little bit bigger, maybe, in some regard. I can't tell where the biggerness of it would have come from, but it just could have been bigger. Yeah, the ass. There we go.
I said the ass.
Oh. The ass and the axe.
Yeah, both
of them need to be bigger.
Both. Just attach the axe to your ass and then you're good.
There we go.
Just attach the ass from last week with a bigger axe here, and then we're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this as well. I thought this was the biggest transformation of anybody in this episode. It's really strong prosthetic works, and I like that we saw like the raw look in the boudoir earlier, so we could see actually what all she did, and she completely painted that because it looked nothing like that when we saw her first applying it. But I will say, while I think Gray's prosthetic work looks very cinematic, I don't know that I would say the same about this. I would say this is like really top tier cosplay and not really movie prosthetics, which nothing wrong with that. I also really like the asymmetrical like sleeve thing. Like she has one sleeve and then one without. And I really wish she came out like shaking her one sleeve arm like Tessa from Global All-Stars. Yeah,
Period.
That would have been iconic. But yeah, this very strong look. Maybe my favorite Pi look of the season.
So if you've been following along, this was my favorite look of the week. And I did say in the recap that I would have had Pi as the winner of this based on the look and the choreography. Because I think complete transformation from what we know Pi to look like. This was my favorite mostly because it looked the most professional cosplay. And I understand where you're coming from, David. Absolutely. It is not the most cinematic, but it is the most cosplay. And I think that is the angle that Pi took and that I probably would have taken for a challenge like this, is I would have gone less cinematic, more cosplay with it. The details here are so great. This is how you do a character and yet still have a little bit of dimensionality as far as creating the character. Like the piecemeal quality of the gear and everything really adds to the overall character. This headpiece is wonderful. The prosthetic is fantastic. It's a phenomenal look for me from Pi. Phenomenal. Scores.
90.
92.
98. And that's that on that from us here today about that. So thank you for joining us for this Look Over Here episode. Like we've been talking about, if you've not checked out the recap with David and I, make sure to go check that out. Or me and David is grammatically more correct.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Whatever. Subscribe, like, and share on the way out. Let us know all your thoughts on the looks down in the comments below. Thank you again for the subscribers, the comments, and the likes on these videos. It does really help us out. So thank you very much. And make sure to check out the description below where you can find all of our audio podcast links, our other YouTube channels, our Patreon, our social media, and where you can get your merch, including but not limited to cup mug. And with all that being said, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. So cheers, uglies.
Cheers.
Cheers.